Is it fixed? Is it whatever? Okay, I guess. Huh. Let's do this. That's gonna be heavy. Hello everyone, my name is Ochenga and I am an international student from Lebanon. My mother is Ivorian, my father is Congolese. I am not Afro-American, but I've been here for 3 years and I am a people's person and I care about everything that's going on. The purpose of my video that I'm posting today, it's gonna be challenging, and it's not like anything else that I posted on this channel. It's challenging because it's gonna be very controversial, and it's not gonna be fully one-sided. It's not gonna be fully one-sided, and I think that's what people are gonna be angry with. You may not agree with my opinion, and that is okay. I put a lot of thoughts in what I'm gonna say and do, and and I believe in freedom of speech, and I believe in free will, and you can believe whatever you want, and you can listen to me or just click next. But I feel that me wanting to share this mean that it is important to me, and I really want to share it, and I feel like somebody out there might need some confirmation, somebody out there might give them peace about that. But everything that that I'm going to share today, and I might receive some hate, and that is okay. I mean, we cannot please everyone, but and this is what's going to be. It's going to be a while, so take a seat, and don't restrain yourself from answering and responding because you don't want to offend me. I grew up in a home where everything's just blunt. My mother didn't believe in sugarcoating. She's just like traditional African mom. She tells me like life sucks. And my mother always calls me out on something, even me as her son, when I ask her about something and I really want her to be on my side, she will always call me out when I do something wrong. And that is what I'm going to do. And of course, I would like your full honest comment on this, because if I did something wrong and if you want to turn my attention to something, then of course I would want to learn, because I'm not a know-it-all. Even people who get doctorates and whatever, they are know-it-all, they're not even know-it-alls. They're just still learning. And before I start, I just want to say I am an informed Christian college student. And why I'm saying that, because I am aware of everything that's going on. I am not living under a rock, and I am not ignorant. I hold up to my Christian values and to my sound Christian values, because you can say I'm a Christian, everybody say I'm a Christian, but are you really a Christian? That's a topic for another time. And college student because I am in the social work. I'm planning to become a social worker. So meaning racism has been something that we've discussed a lot, and we're still discussing until now. The reason why I care about it, not because I'm a person of color, but also I grew up in Lebanon. I experienced racism. I was one of the lucky ones who did not experience it in a very aggressive way, but me coming to the United States is way different than being back in Lebanon. In Lebanon, I felt very censored. I had to censor everything I say. I actually didn't have a voice at all. I could not speak my mind, because it doesn't matter if somebody hears me, and even somebody treating me unjustly, I'm not going to do anything, and they're not going to do anything. I've seen other of my friends who were unjustly put into situations, whatever, and the government not even caring about them, and the domestic workers in Lebanon are treated unfairly, and some of them are just like disrespected, mistreated, treated like animals, are abused, are raped, and all of that. And it resulted with a lot of people getting committing suicide. One person I know actually committed suicide. So it is very high stress and everything. And it's really weird that even though here, like, I'm in the United States, I feel safer than I was in Lebanon, which is just crazy. Um, but finding another person just dying like that makes me sad and makes me feel um, sorrow, like a lot of sorrow and all of that. I, as you can see, I said that I love people, and just talking about them and topics and all these things just fascinates me. But above all, I love God, and more than anything. So I am going to use my theological knowledge and reflection to convey this message. I touch on this subject um, on my Facebook profile in one of my posts, and I feel like I wanted to add a little bit more because um, I don't feel we're gonna. I don't feel that I will convey this whole message. I just wanted to write in one like reflection, but it ended up being 5 pages paper. My social work professor would be so happy and so proud, and all of this. But also my other professors who were like theological, because uh, here in my school we look at social work, of course, as the very in a human way how we can do it, but also how can we include Jesus in the way. And sometimes we're gonna stand in the middle and we have nothing to say. And right now my position is in the middle. I'm not saying I don't agree or whatever. Just listen to what I gotta say. We failed. We failed as a society, we failed as Christians. I'm sure with the whole social media blasting and protest, you're aware. You're aware. You cannot tell me that you are not aware of what is happening. Because if until now we don't know what is happening, I'm just saying, where are you? Where do you live? And I'm not going to say it's bad if you don't know, because now, if you got sent this video or if somebody reached out to you, meaning people are doing their jobs, and that's good. So this is the so great revolution of racism. Am I surprised? Not at all. To be honest, I am angry, I'm frustrated, disappointed in everything that is happening. When everything started happening, I cried out to God. I just laying in bed. I was like, God, what are we going to do? What are we going to, like, I have no idea what we're going to do. And I just cried and over. I was like, stuck. What am I going to do? Am I going to post or am I not? Or I feel like I'm betraying. I feel like whatever. And I do want to do something and say something because I am a person of influence. And as a person, I have people around me with circle. But I've seen some people had this slightly different approach. And I feel like I didn't want to enlighten them, and I didn't want to add this to them and, and tell them about my opinion. So my heart was burning in pain and sorrow about the whole situation. What was very shocking is that whole incident with George Floyd and him being killed and, oh, not killed, murdered. That's the word we should use. Murdered. Cold-blooded. Like that. I still don't know whether it was out of racism or not, but it was in that situation. That's how it looks like. We still don't know. God knows his heart. But all in all, when I saw that and saw the people who were crying and how much it impacted the whole Black community in the United States and all the world, and like everybody, it's not only Black people, like other people, it just made me realize that how broken is this world. And it's so sad that this just made me realize how broken is the world. I should already know that. This world is falling, y'all. And It says in Romans 3:23, "For all have sinned and fall short from the glory of God." When Adam and Eve, ate the fruit, that's when they launched the plague of sin onto the world. And Satan was very manipulative when he approached Eve in tempting her first. He um, he used the best tactic that made he fall, that was his downfall, which was pride. He did tell her and put in her head that her eating from the fruit, from the tree of good and evil, is not just going to make her know what is good and bad, but it's going to make her like God. And us having that mistrust between God, which broke this relationship, because we all know that in a relationship, trust is essential. So, how during all of that, and she ate and she gave to her husband. And her husband also, he believed the same way, because I don't think that he wouldn't eat it if he didn't believe the same thing. So both of them fell. Racism comes from hatred and pride, because pride is the root of every single evil thing that's happening in the world. Let's count. Abortion. Yeah, I called it out. Rape. I called it out. What else? Trafficking. Yes, because we all want something that benefits me, I, myself, Anna, moi. I don't know how to say it in Spanish. I don't know if it's soy or yo, but all those languages I know. It's all about us. But also, racism is not just a sin, but racism is also taught throughout generations and generations, meaning you learn something, you believe something, you act up upon it, you teach somebody else. Children, they imitate, they believe that concept in their mind. Oops, something happened. Okay, they had that concept in their mind, and yeah, that is all happening. Racism is the fruit of a deeper issue. Matthew 7:18 says, "Likewise, every good tree bears good fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, and a bad tree cannot bear good fruit." What does it mean? It means that the world needs God. The world needs to be God-centered, because everything in creation and everything around us is a representation of God. How will a person understand how to treat another if they don't know the truth? By what moral? By what standards? We are just humans and are flawed in nature. I'm talking about everybody, even the leaders of different countries, even the leader of this country. I know it's so disappointing by how people are looking, and I know you're looking for hope. You're looking for the leader of the country to say something and do something right. And I'm not political, but if we cannot look up at the leaders of our countries as the people who know what to do, yes, they are in a position, but honestly, if they're not Christ driven and they don't know, or they are so called Christians and they're not sound Christians, yeah, everything they're going to do is wrong. Like, whatever they're going to try to do is always wrong. And I'm just going to say, I'm mourn for all the people who lost respect of their president. The president needs a lot of prayer, along with the people who are supporting his choices of lack of leadership and not being able to oppose. I don't know whether him not talking to addressing the problem was because of because of political whatever, we don't know. But more than ever, we need prayer, because he's supposed to be the first to stand up and act in a better manner. And I am so sorry for all of that. But also, we should pray for other people because they are the one who are giving power to the president, you know? And I'm not saying that I hate him. So don't quote me that all me saying all that I'm hate. Like, no, everybody's subjected to be bad. So I'm saying all that. So because people don't know Christ, they don't the moral standards won't align with what God has, and will always be wrong. That's why we have the Bible. That's why we have um, God telling His story, but at the same time telling us how to live in unity and community with Him and living a sound life. And it's a guide. It's not always going to tell us what to do and what not to do, but it's going to be a guide, a book of principles to apply. So I was back to flawed in nature. Romans 8 5 to 8 says, those who live according to the sinful nature have their mindset on what nature desires, but those who live in accordance with the Spirit have their mindset on what the Spirit desires. The mind of sinful man is death, but the mind controlled by the Spirit is life and peace. The sinful mind is hostile to God. It does not submit to God's law, nor can it do so. Those controlled by the sinful nature cannot please God. I'm not judging anybody's heart, and I'm not going to call it because only God knows. And also, we said earlier, we know people by their fruit. But this clearly says that if you are not abiding by God's, you're not following Christ, you are following yourself. And when you're following yourself and selfish desires, that's rebellious and hostile because of our sinful nature. Our bodies are not good. They're not made because of us letting sin coming into it. We're always going to be against God. God is holy, God is all, and we are always just that big separation. And that is why we should understand that. So why are we failing? We are failing because we are not spreading the gospel. I'm not saying we're not doing, but we're not doing it enough. In order for people to understand the value of another person and see them as the person that God made them to be, the other person to be, they need to know the gospel. Because when they know the gospel, they know what God says about His people, about everybody. His people is everybody. About His creation. He loves them. Them knowing that they will treat somebody better. So the call to action is stand up for injustice and education within and out of the church. Standing up means to call out people for making racist jokes. Call out a brother or a sister in church that still wants to stick to racial idiotic stereotypes. Yes, idiotic stereotypes. For instance, no sister so-and-so or brother so-and-so. This is not glorifying the kingdom. If you truly believe that you're valuable to God as much as this other person, then you should stop doing what you're doing. You should stop looking at yourself and blocking yourself with hatred and stereotype. You should stop looking at them like that. I myself have been stuck. Like, I caught myself being stuck with some racist mindset, even growing up in Lebanon. And also, some of my friends are from different ethnicities. So, of course, I might have said something or did anything that's that offended and that was very, like, racist. I am not a racist. I can say I am not a racist. I'm not socially. I don't hate people, but sometimes we're not careful in what we say. Sometimes we're not careful in what we're enabling. So that's why we have to be um, more careful. So what does that mean? Racism does not have a color, and it is present in every culture. It all just depends on the context. It depends what is the majority of the people and what is the minority, who has the power and who does not. I'm not saying only political power. Sometimes it just can be a number of people. So that's how racism is like. Stop saying it's white versus black, because I've seen it happen to different races, and also in a reverse manner too. Don't stand up for someone for someone else because it makes you feel good, or don't do it because it is a trend, or because someone is guilt tripping you in doing it. It has nothing to do about you. It was never about you. It has nothing to do with your personal gains to do it, because when you stand up for somebody else, you have to do it in a way to honor God. Now let me address the whole protesting, rioting, and looting. People are protesting, rioting, and looting because they are angry and they want change. And that is a completely normal reaction of a human being, of our flesh, of what is easier to do. When a baby is angry, when a baby cannot communicate, the baby just cries, and we just have to know what is happening. But when the baby grows up and starts using words, we teach them how to communicate. We tell them, you want something, communicate with me. All that crying and tantrum, whatever, is not going to do anything. That is self-control and discipline. Right? So I support peaceful protesting. I'm just gonna grab something. I support. Okay, we're good. I support peaceful protesting, but the rooting, like rioting and looting is just wrong. It doesn't matter who is doing it. That is not important. Who's doing it? We're not getting all political. That is something else. You know. It is fun. It is funny when it's not funny. It's actually really sad. Actually, I don't know why I wrote it down here. When you mentioned that it is wrong, some Christians end up telling you that we gotta do what we gotta do to be heard, and it shouldn't be a crime. And if you're so mad about the looting or whatever, then you clearly don't care about what's happening. A crime is a crime, my friend. Romans 13 clearly talks about the submission to the government authorities. I am not saying everything is permissible, for God's authority is above all. I encourage you to go and read that passage, because I'm not going to read every single passage. We're going to take till tomorrow. When the Pharisees tried to, I'm back to here. When the Pharisees tried to trick Jesus in Matthew 22:15-22 by asking about paying taxes, he said, "So give back to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's." Meaning, Jesus clearly honored the law of the lands. He clearly honored, what is that? Paying taxes, give respect due to whatever and honor due to whoever, Attacking the police is also wrong. I mean, what happened to George Floyd and many other victims that have been unjustly murdered, I'm fixing it, is horrific. And the protest is raising awareness to that, and justice still has to be made. I'm 100% with this. But please don't use other crimes to justify another crime. Is it fair? In a worldview, it is fair. Worldly view, it is fair. But that comes from selfish ambitions and desires. We just talked about this. Yes, but Jesus calls us to turn the other cheek and takes us even further into praying for them. He did say that, you may have heard, he always brought back to the law, to the Torah, that you may have heard that an eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth, but I tell you to love your, oh wait, he told them to, love their enemies and pray for them. He takes them further into praying for them. So we can act like children and say, they started it and we are going to fight back. Violence is going to bring more violence and chaos. Violence is going to bring more violence and chaos. Don't use the excuse that they did that for us for a long time and we had enough, and bring up history and statistics. Those deaths in those statistics are not just numbers. They are people. And I acknowledge that. But also history should be remembered, used, and we should carry it with us to show how much we've come so far. But it shouldn't be something that should hold us back. It shouldn't be a clutch. It shouldn't be something that will stop us from moving forward in freedom. I'm not saying forget, remember. But remember to change and learn what are the things in the past that did not work and what we're not going to do. Because all you're doing right now is repeating history. Do you want that to be recorded in history? Said, hey, blah, 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 this happened, blah, 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 and this happened right now. It's like, remember during 2020? Yeah, another thing, the broken stories, and we're like, is that what we want to? Another chaos? Do you want a civil war? I doubt it's gonna happen, but do you want something like that? And if you are going to start pulling up receipts about other people's actions in order to justify their crimes with history and whatever, then how would you feel about God just pulling up your personal receipts? He's gonna be, okay, Uchenga, in 2008 you did this, in 2006 you did that, in 2006, and actually you were born a sinner, so I don't think I should do anything. No. Why did Jesus die on the cross? He died to forgive you. And so you can have a way back to him. What happened about turning the other cheek? I already mentioned it. I'm going to mention that again. What happened to the moneylender who didn't want to forgive his brother? It wasn't his brother, but you get the concept. Matthew 18:21-35 says, shouldn't you have mercy on your fellow servant, just as I had mercy on you? Then the angry king sent the man to prison to be tortured until he had paid his entire debt. That's what my heavenly Father will do to you if you refuse to forgive your brothers and sisters from your heart. Don't tell me, oh yeah, we already forgave them, but you're going to pull up and just do it. No, that's not forgiving. Forgiving is also an action. It's not just like, oh, I forgive, or it's in my heart and whatever, but we have to do the same. We want them. No. Cannot do that. And don't call people stupid for being anti-riot. Or tell them like, oh, you don't care or whatever. And don't use Martin Luther King's quote that says, rioting is the voice of the unheard, to justify it either. I don't know what was the context behind it or whatever, but I don't think you just say like, oh, we want our voice heard, we're going to riot. No, you're bringing more chaos. Yes, Martin Luther King was a great leader and a world changer, but he was only human. Don't idealize him. In general, don't idealize everybody. Don't idealize leaders or whatever. We look more at God working through them than actually looking at the person. Because if we're going to look at the person and idealize them, again, pride. It's all about us. It's not about us. It's about God working in our lives. It's about God. Everything around us is about God. Don't bring it to you. How to honor God in general. Think about it. And I don't think Martin Luther King would want you to idolize him either. Because I'm sure he knew that he was not a perfect person either. But you know what? Don't walk like a victim. And that's going to be slightly political, but you know, whatever. Don't walk like a victim. Don't let anyone call you a victim. Because you do have power. You don't know. For instance, Gandhi, who made a difference and a change, he understood the power of his people. He encouraged everyone to go on a hunger strike. And how was it successful? Why? If everyone is dead, then nobody is going to take advantage and nobody is going to control. So he used that, said, okay, since we are their asset, we're going to counter control and we're going to reverse it on them. And we're going to say, hey, we're going to starve ourselves to death because we're not going to then benefit you if we're going to die or if we're dead. And you know, people gave in and he did the world movement and everybody talks about him. Now, okay, I talked about Gandhi, but he's not that perfect person either. He did a lot of bad things, but that is just one example, you know? Like, you know, you're just talking, but he did not result in rioting. You say businesses can be replaced, but lives can't be replaced, which is true. But if businesses are going to be replaced, then it's not going to make that big of an impact. Yes, it just right now, it's making an impact, but later on, it's not going to be an impact because we can rebuild and all of that. Like, that's not going to make an impact. That's not doing anything. You just bring chaos into it for no reason. And I don't know who is whatever doing whatever because we are not going to get political because I'm not that politically informed with all these things because whatever. But whoever just enabling all of that. Let me give you an example. One thing that I realized being here in the United States, I realized that the United States is very economically driven. It's not just what I learned, but also it's what I've seen. So do you think if you stop contributing to the economy, that would make a bigger impact than actually just going, because you can just stick striking I'm not gonna work. You're not gonna work. Trust me, you'll see if one day nobody works, you're gonna see the whole United States economy gonna go. And that's when you're gonna turn the attention. And that's when you're gonna be like, whatever. And according to what I know the president is very is very business driven and all that. So I don't know. That's just me. I'm not a politician. I don't know all about that. But that was just one thought I thought about it and like that came up to me. I don't know. But if you get the idea, trademark me. I'm just kidding. Now, guys, if you want to fight racism, it's not only mentally, it's not physically, it's not spiritually, but also it's a system. It is. If you want to fight this system, the racist system that the US forefathers founded this country upon, then fight the system, not the people. Find ways to fight the system. Find ways in just showing where are the holes and where are the loopholes in the system, whatever. Do this. Fight the system, you know? Okay? We turn the attention to oppression right now. What are we going to do next? Screaming we want justice is not enough. Like the same thing I was saying, baby screaming all the time, and all this, whatever, do this tantrum. He's not gonna do anything if we do not communicate. We're so blessed with mouth, and the United States is so blessed with the privilege of sharing your opinion and not getting persecuted for it, and not getting killed, and not being judged for it. And Well, you will be judged if it's like morally wrong, but all of that. But you will still be open. Use that privilege. Communicate. Suggest specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely goals. We call them SMART goals. It's not just like look at environment, look, okay, how does it look like? How am I going to make, how do you want justice to look like in government, society, in law enforcement party? Don't just say, oh, we want to change. No, go one by one. Go, if you want to win something, you have to go strategy, give tactical, smart suggestions and go change stuff one by one. Don't just say, we want this. That's very broad. Justice can be different from a different perspective from one person. They can see from one perspective, another person from another perspective. If you want everybody to be equal, you have to express how we should do it, how should we change it, how the protocol, how flawed. Intellectuals of this country and leaders and um, all of that, don't just tell people, oh, protest and post sit down in your, like, I'm just getting so mad with celebrities saying all of that, like, oh, do what you're supposed to do and whatever, sit down and in their jacuzzi and do nothing, or just like throw money. Throwing your money is not going to do anything. Trust me, if you just throw, and it's not going to do anything. But you have to do more action, suggest more things and do more things. It's action. That's what speaks louder than words, or it carries out the words and gives more power. We are in a world that is so dark, and it needs God to be the center of it. When we throw God and his principles out of the window, everything falls apart. In Babylon, when they wanted to do things their own way, they wanted to change things in according to what they think is right and all that, and they wanted to build it. What did God do? He struck them down with, he just mixed up all the languages and they stopped building anything, and that's unity. Isn't that what we're doing right now? Isn't that what everybody's doing right now? I'm using we all the time because I feel like as if an American, but I'm actually not. But I feel I am empathetic to this problem. That's why I'm using we. So that's when we make it about us rather than about God. When we throw him out of the window. Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matters comes from the wrong heart, because we are not seeing past ourselves and the big issue. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm not saying like one is right and one is better, whatever. I'm going to, like, I know people are going to use the example about the house, about like this house is burning and everything, and somebody's saying that, oh, my house matters too. They could say, yeah, but this also is burning. No, we're not going to say, oh, when people say that, when Jesus went to look for the lost one, the lost sheep, and the 99 say, hey, we matter too, and say they're in danger. Yes, take that principle. But at the same time, we should turn your attention away from that and say, oh, it's Black Lives Matter, and say, it's All Lives Matters, and just fight over that. Just fight for what it is, for justice in general, Because we're just going to fight over and over, because today can be blacks, tomorrow can be Hispanics, and another day is going to be another race that is oppressed, or another issue. I'm not undermining the issue at all. It is important to raise awareness and protest. I'm not going to stop saying how important it is to protest, because that's what leaders do. Us as Christians, everybody, you are a leader. But don't bring unity by making more divisions, by saying, you shut up, you have nothing to say because you are from a different race. Or you don't know what it's like. Okay, I am not from that. I want to learn. I want to be with you. I am supporting you. But don't just go say, shut up. You don't know. Whatever. Don't do that. Why are you just disrespecting other people just because they want to voice out their opinions? and just be all fired up and whatever. Calm down. I know you can be emotional. I know this is hard and whatever, but just calm down. We are all in the same boat, if you see it. We are all in the same boat in fighting racism, and we should do more. Of course, this is not enough. We should do more. As much as we are posting on social media and protesting, we should be praying for a breakthrough, because if we're not letting God into the problem, not letting God, if we're not making God the center of it, if we're having the goal centered around God, into Him helping this nation come back together how it's supposed to be. Because a racist person can be like this wall that's in front of me. You can talk and talk and talk and talk, and still that person can stand to the principles and not see what you're supposed to do. But when you ask God that He will open up their heart, that God will give you words of wisdom for you to know what to say, that's when the change is going to happen. And if they're not going to change, they will eventually, because they're going to be the one person that's going to be against, and most likely when you most probably going to follow the crowd if you're going to be the only one that's sticking out. So unless you just like ignorant and you don't want to be with the day, so yeah, continue doing whatever you're doing wrong, and then you'll get judged for it, and you'll be held in prison. We should have these conversations more often, and honor. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, and then love your neighbor as yourself. If you love God, you should love your neighbor. You cannot say you love God, they're both equal. You love God, you love your neighbor, because your neighbor is also a representation of God. It's also the image of God. You see the connection? It is not no justice, no peace, but no peace, no justice, no peace of heart, no peace in all of these things. That is when there's going to be no justice. As long as we're not coming with a peaceful mind, and as long as we're not coming with this very sound in mind and strategic whatever, and we're just going in just the motions and it's all cacophonous, there's not going to be any justice. For us to win something, we have to have a plan. And it's not just justice according to the worldview, but God's justice. Do your job with the right intentions to honor God. This is not all about racial discrimination, but a spiritual war that is lacking action, with soldiers that are going off the strategy and forgetting even what are we doing. Yes, as Christians, remember. I'm just going to finish off with this quote from UNESCO's preamble. It says, "Since wars begin in the minds of man, it is the minds of man that defenses of peace must be constructed." I'm going to repeat it. Since wars begins in the minds of man, it is in the minds of man that defenses of peace must be constructed. Hashtag God's justice in our lives matters. Protest, everyone. Be safe. Do what is right. And don't forget to pray for this country. And that's how I rest my case. And that's what I think about. God bless. And I love y'all. All of y'all.